to Life According to Lashai. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm so excited that Doug Vermeeren's here with me today. He's someone that I really admire, and he's been a great mentor in our lives. And recently, him and some amazing thought leaders in the world have come together to create an amazing movie. But I'm going to let Doug introduce himself so he can tell you guys a little bit more about him and the work that he does.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, when I was a young man, I ran into the book Think and Grow Rich. And so with, that kind of insight into the book, I decided to go out and start actually building my network, because your network, the people that you're connected to, is really the foundation of all your success. That determines, in fact, the kinds of questions that you're going to be able to answer in life, the kinds of thinking that you have, and you really rise to the level of the people that you're surrounded with. So by the time I was kind of into, I guess, doing those interviews, I got into about 400 of the world's top achievers, people that you'd know, everyone from Oprah to Ellen to Richard Branson to you name it. And I'm still actually meeting and interviewing those people now. In fact, I've just started a YouTube show where I'm bringing some of those interviews on. This morning, I was just speaking with the gentleman who started the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I don't know if you know that, Frank Shankowitz. He's a friend of mine. In fact, I'm going to put a little plug in for his movie that just came out not too long ago called Wish Man. You can see it on Netflix, and it's the story of how they started with the idea to grant wishes to kids who were terminally ill. And I think that was just such an amazing mission that he had. So that's kind of me, and basically what I've done over the years is I now speak about what I learned directly from the world's top achievers. What I learned firsthand from some of these successful people. And the things that I learned have affected many things in my life, not only the relationships and my thinking and the way that I did things, but also my finances. It really helped me to know what rich people do in order to become rich, so I could do it myself. But I also now still go out and meet these people, and we produce several movies now that also share some of these insights from some of the top thought leaders. This is our fourth one, How Thoughts Become Things. So it's a little bit about me in a nutshell. I don't know, did I miss anything?
No, there's so much more that I've heard about your journey, and that's so inspiring. But I'm sure the listeners and viewers will be able to go and do a little bit more research into who you are and all the amazing work that you've done, because it is a bit hard to encapsulate everything that you've done and all that you are in like such a brief moment. But thank you so much for sharing that. And can you sort of tell us why the film was so important for you to make? And not only why it was important for you to make, why now? Why do you think that the film is so impactful and important to society now?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, this film, I've actually been working on it for quite some time. And to tell you the truth, it's been a subject I've been very personally interested in. And the reason why is because, like I said, as I started doing the interviews with the top achievers in my own life, I kind of started with some bad thinking. That's kind of how I started. My parents weren't wealthy. My mom and dad, worked very hard. My father worked in construction. My mom babysat kids in the home. I just actually was over at their house for dinner not too long ago, and something that was said that I didn't realize is my father at one time had 4 different jobs just to make ends meet for our family, all at the same time. And so I never knew that, but their idea of creating success and wealth and getting ahead was to work harder. That was always their idea, work harder, and then things will come. But as I began to learn from the top achievers, I learned that there's many other strategies that are actually more effective than just hard work. You hear a lot of the gurus right now saying, you got to hustle, you got to get a grind, you got to get, do this side hustle, wake up early and all this stuff, but they're not really telling you what to do. Right? They're just saying, get busy. And that's not the goal. The goal isn't to get busy. The goal is to make progress. Yeah. And as I had a chance to visit with the top achievers, I found that they just had a different way of seeing things. And so that kind of rubbed off on me. And so as I started to make the movies, I thought, this is really something important that needs to be taught, how to level up our thinking, because you can't really expand what you have until you expand who you are. Mm-hmm. And you can't really expand who you are until you start thinking bigger about yourself and your circumstances and the things that are possible for you. And so that's kind of what led to the movie. And I guess how it's affecting these times and why this is such a great time. I'll be honest with you, we didn't plan it. We were working on the movie before anyone heard about COVID or pandemic that's going on right now or any of this. And I think, quite frankly, any time is a good time to start thinking bigger. You don't need a special occasion or a tragedy or a challenge to really justify thinking bigger. You're worth it now, regardless of what's going on in your life. You're brilliant now, regardless of what's going on. But I have to admit that the timing of this has been really kind of interesting, because I almost feel like the universe has kind of said, listen, this is going on. People need this help and this support. And so this is now the right time for your movie. And, there's been obstacles along the way as why it didn't come out before. Like, if you go on to YouTube, you'll see I put out the first trailer back in 2010. I wanted to make this movie that long ago. And so it was kind of held off, and, we wanted it to be after the Opus, which was my first movie, but instead we did the Gratitude Experiment because that's what the distributors wanted. And I thought it was a strong message, and I loved the idea of gratitude. And then we put up the Treasure Map, and then we said, well, what's the next movie? And I said, I want to do this one. I've wanted to do it forever. And finally the distributors said, okay, we'll let you do it. And then the timing of this just made it so interesting. And it's kind of unique because right now I'm doing a handful of like radio and TV interviews and stuff every day now. And we always come back to the topic of this with the pandemic. There's really two sides to it. There's the physical one that's creating problems for people who are getting sick and having challenges. And even on the physical side, there's now people who don't have work and they don't have the money to pay their bills. And like, there's a lot of physical things here. But on the other side of that, there's, the thought processes that are going on. People are now living in more fear and doubt and despair and discouragement and mystery. And they're just not sure where things are gonna go, right? And what's the bigger one? What's the bigger illness? Well, the truth of the matter is we as humankind will get through the physical part. We will find a way to survive. But there's many people who will not make it through the mental part. There's many people who are now paralyzed, and they doubt themselves, and they're shrinking, and they're diminishing who they are. And we've even seen in the extreme people who've already taken their own lives. And so I think that this part is probably the more dangerous part. If we can find a way to think at a higher level, we can actually get through, and even faster through the physical part. We can get through better through the physical part. And I think that that's the real danger of this pandemic right now.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like that's why this project of yours is obviously so powerful, because whether it's wanting to manifest your dreams or sort of pursue an idea you've always wanted to pursue, it's just the importance in everyday life, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're letting sort of into your field and your vibration, how that can impact the experiences that you're going to have, that will impact how you're going to come out of a certain situation, especially in a time where scarcity is quite a thing for some people, or uncertainty and not knowing what that next step's going to be, and just the overall fear of what's going on. So I just want to really commend you and your team and all the people that were a part of this project, because it was so powerful to sit down as a family. We watched it all together, me and my family, and just see how my youngest sibling, Amir, who's 6 years old, to the eldest, my nan, who watched it with us, we all were able to learn so much from it. And it was digestible for each of us, because sometimes there are movies about personal development or mindset, and it might be a bit hard for a child to understand, or someone of a certain mindset might not get it. But we were all able to coherently sit down and really take it in, and then have a really interesting conversation afterwards. And so what I'd like to ask you next was, why was it so important for you to have so many like-minded, powerful individuals who are well accomplished like yourselves to be a part of this movie? Because obviously there was Dr. Martini, there was Marie Diamond. So why was it really important for you to have some of those associates be a part of this project?
Well, there's two things maybe to think about with that. The first is that even though all of us kind of teach a lot of these same ideas, we have different ways of teaching and different ways of looking at things. And so I really appreciate the perspective that's there. And obviously those who are watching as an audience, they sort of resonate with different people in the film. And I'm sure like the people that I've spoken to so far have said, so-and-so's my favorite. And then someone else said somebody completely different. So-and-so's my favorite. I love what he said about this. And so really I wanted to have a voice that could really connect with everyone, because I don't think by myself that I really can do that. Like, I feel like I had some valuable things to say, but I don't think I was the smartest guy in the film, which kind of leads me to my next point. Why did I have so many voices? Because I wanted to learn from them too. And that was part of the exciting part for me. And to be honest with you, I kind of had the best experience with this movie more than anybody else, because when I was interviewing people, like say, for example, Bob Proctor, we spent almost a day together, right? And I got to ask him any questions that I wanted. We got to talk about the power of thought and the law of attraction and, you know, vibrational frequencies and all of these things. Whereas in, you know, I had him for the day. When you guys see the movie, I think he's in there for maybe 10 minutes. Right? So there's so many things that that I gained from spending time with those people. And the thing that I also really like about this, like some of these people have been in multiple movies of mine now. For example, John DeMartini's been in every single one of my movies, and he's one of my best friends. Bob Proctor's been in 2 of those movies. Bob Doyle's been in 2. Let's see who else is. Marie Diamond's been in at least 2 of them. And so some of these people, they've been friends of mine for years. And so they're people that, you know, when I knew I was going to talk about thoughts, I knew them so well because they're my friends and we've had good conversations. I knew that they would add something extremely valuable to the film, that their insights would actually help the film go to a next level, right? And then, of course, you know, I mean, we thought about The Secret, the movie The Secret, and I love that movie. And I think it was a brilliant beginning to the conversation. But the truth is there's still a lot of questions that people have. There's still, you know, a lot of mysteries that they want to know the answers to. And so who better to answer that than the people who talked about it in the first place? So I thought that was pretty good. Like, give them a chance to add to what they had said before, to clarify, or even to go deeper in some cases. So that's kind of why we grabbed those guys.
Yeah, what I really love that you've touched on is the fact that a lot of these people are your friends, and how powerful it is. Because a lot of people say, don't mix business and pleasure, and like, I wouldn't necessarily do business or work with my friends. But it's such an amazing different level and scale when you and your friends grow each other, you work together on various projects. And also for you being someone who's so well accomplished in the world, but being so open to still knowing that you can learn, because sometimes there's ego, especially in entertainment and in the business and personal development world. There's a lot of people, it's like, I'm at the top of my game, I know what I'm talking about, and that's all. But the fact that you're saying that you're still learning from these people, you love having the conversations, working together, and just sort of seeing how you can get to that next level. That is just something that as a young person is very inspirational to hear that the learning stops. There's always more you can learn.
Well, do you want to know something really interesting? And I was talking with somebody about this earlier today. I'm going to use this whiteboard to show you something. A lot of people ask me the question, Doug, how did you get access to some of these top achievers? And how did you get some of these people to be your friends? And how do you get them to participate? Like, you were at the event where we brought John DeMartini and your brother interviewed him in person. And like, I mean, how do you get some of these top achievers to do this for you? Right? How do you get them to participate? Now, let's talk about this, because I think this is kind of interesting for people. Is if you look, and I'm going to just write lower level here. And what I mean by that is lower level networking. When you're out connecting with people at a lower level, there's generally a couple of short-term goals that people have. The first is sometimes people want to give, and they say, I'll do this for you. I'd love to help you. And they're at a networking event. I'm going to serve, blah, 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 blah. But the problem with that is if they're giving too much and no one's really responding, a person can feel taken advantage of, and they can feel kind of used. And because there's no long-term plan here, that giving, it can also burn a person out. In fact, we have one of my students at our network training that we do. She owns a website company. She helps people build websites. And so what she does is every time someone gives her a business card, she builds them a free kind of one-page website in the hope that they will become a customer. Well, as you can imagine, 99% of the people to get this free page simply say thank you, and they never really do anything with her, right? And so she's always giving, but if you talk to her for any length of period of time, you can always see that she feels discouraged because she feels like she's working so hard and it's not producing anything. Again, that's a lower level networker. The other kind of person we see here is what we call a taker. And those are the people who they come to a networking event and all they want to do is sell you something or get something from you, right? So every conversation is about sales. But the thing that's kind of interesting is that when people sell, like let's just say, for example, you've authored a book and your goal is to sell this. Well, you might sell a few and you might get $20 or 20 pounds for every book that you sell, but that's where it finishes. That's the end. There's nothing more you're really going to get out of that relationship, right? Once the transaction has occurred, that's the end. But a higher level network, people who network at higher levels, the first big difference that I want to point out is that they never think short term. You never ever go into that thinking short term, and you are there to invest in a relationship, and you're never there to sell. Like, we don't care about the quick sell. What we actually look for is called mutual creation, right? So what can we make together? What can we do together? How can we do something that's going to be valuable for both of us? And so maybe, it's interesting. People keep talking to me about your movie, my movie, my movie, my movie. Truth is, I don't really look at it that way. Even though I'm the guy who's kind of assembled it, I kind of look at it as our movie. Everybody, all the speakers involved, we did this together. And we're a team going forward. And if you look carefully at how those guys are right now in the marketplace, they're doing the interviews, they're promoting it, they're getting behind it, the same as I am. In fact, some of them just to the same degree, right? Because we all are there as a team. And so I think one of the biggest shifts that if people want to start like hanging out with top leaders, like if you were at an event and Oprah Winfrey was there, would you try to sell her your book? Like, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Right? But that's what people do all day long. They're trying to either be a giver or taker. Or would you even give her your book? No, I'll tell you what, you put your book away because that's self-promotion. Yeah. What you want to do is you want to find out, is there something that we can create together that would also benefit her, right? Something that would be useful to both people. And it's a synergistic relationship. In fact, I love what Stephen Covey said in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're looking to create win-win situations, right? So that people feel that synergy of mutual creation. And so that's really what you want to do. So if you're asking me a little bit more about, this movie, how is it getting the traction? Why are people involved? Why do my friends who are these really amazing speakers, why do they keep coming back and hanging out with me? Well, it's because I'm not taking and I'm not giving. I'm actually working with them. Together we do stuff that both of us can appreciate. And I think this is also maybe I'm going on a big rant here, but I think this is also important too. When you give, sometimes you give people gifts they don't even really want, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, here's a confession. I have done this sometimes with my wife, where I will come home with a really nice gift for her. In fact, I can't remember what it was the other day. I brought her this big kind of ornate flower type thing and blah, blah, blah. And you know what she said to me? She says, I do like flowers, but this actually, you've given me a job. This is too much work. I don't want to have to deal with this, right? Yeah. And so sometimes just giving people stuff doesn't always give a benefit. We're sometimes giving them stuff that they're not interested in, right? And so we've got to be sensitive to, especially if you're going to ever network at a higher level, right? You've got to understand that what other people value. What do they find valuable? Right? And that's also what creates a friendship. The other thing that I think is important too is that, if you look at networking, I think you should have a purpose before you go. It's not just to collect everybody's business card. And, when I'm at events right now, people come and they say, Doug, can I get your business card? And you know what? I don't even carry business cards just for that purpose. I don't want to hand you one, right? Unless you can tell me why we got to do business together. And then I might add you on my, social media and my contacts right in my phone. But if you're just there to either give or take or put me on your spam list, you're not getting my card. I'm not interested to do that, right? We teach people how to treat us, right?
I completely I agree with every single thing you've covered. And I think it's so important for people to understand the importance of building a relationship and having rapport there. And also, like you said, just because you can give something or you think that's what someone might want, that might not necessarily be what they need or they desire, because you may...
Or appreciate.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. I've seen circumstances where someone's maybe met a famous person, they act a certain way with them, but they're actually human. If you have a conversation with them, they like to be spoken to a certain way, or they like certain things. So it is so important to build that rapport and relationship, and then it will naturally and organically scale, perhaps into a project, perhaps into giving each other advice, working on something together. Yeah, so I think...
Yeah, actually, I just had an interesting thought come to my mind. This was a couple times ago. I was in London, and one of my one of my people in my network was in the show Chicago, that's downtown in London. That's Cuba Gooding Jr. And I hadn't really met him yet, but I knew people that knew him. So one of my friends did the movie What Dreams May Come that won an Academy Award with Rob Williams and Cuba Gooding Jr. Another friend of mine did all the casting on, was it called Snow Dogs? That movie that he did, the Disney movie that Cuba Gooding did. And also Rat Race, actually, that Cuba was in. And so after the show, I knew where he would be, okay? And I won't tell you all the secrets because I don't want you to go stalk a bunch of celebrities, but I knew where he would be. So I went back there and I introduced myself, but I didn't do a give or a take, right? In fact, what I did instead is I talked about mutual people we knew and how that, how they appreciated him and everything else. And most people, what they would do is they'd say, "Oh, can we get a selfie? Can we," that's the word, "can we get a selfie?" Or "can I get a selfie?" Right? But that's still a give or take. That's a lower level, right? Even that phraseology, "can I," like you're looking for something, right? So the way that you would word it with someone like that, if you want to get a picture, isn't "can I," it's "let's get," right? Let's, meaning you and I. Let's do a picture so that we can send it to these other people that we know. And now there's value for him too, because he wants the other people who helped him get in a movie that won an Academy Award or get cast in these big shows. He wants them to also remember him and for him to be on their radar too. So even something simple like that, you've got to understand that everything that you do should be some form of mutual creation. So anyways, enough about that, eh? We could go on forever. There's so many fun experiences like that we've had that are kind of fun to talk about. So.
No, thank you for sharing that. And my next question, and sort of a topic that I'd like to touch on with you briefly, is what advice would you have for any upcoming movie directors, people that want to get into the media industry? Because for me personally, I'm someone who absolutely adores media, but sometimes it's a bit hard to know where to start or how to get your foot in the door. Any advice for people to sort of start their own project or make a short movie?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I've got a couple of different things of advice. One, develop your talents. So start by making short films. Start by, especially with something like YouTube, and now everybody literally has, a whole movie studio in their pocket, right? Like we've all got a phone. So definitely use the tools that you have at hand. Don't worry about coming up with, a big budget to do something spectacular. Start learning the craft of your film. And what I'm going to suggest now, my expertise in film, I love screenwriting, and I also love the shooting of it, like the photography part of it. So one of the things that I have as a passion is I read every book and I watch every video that I possibly can on those things. So get really well versed. If you know it, you can flow it. Okay, so if you ever bump into people that can help you, you can speak in a relevant way. You can be part of the conversation at a high level. You can really demonstrate that you know your stuff from that. And then if they ask, "Oh, can I see anything that you've done?" you can send them immediately to a reel on YouTube. So that's probably number one. Number two is you really got to start surrounding yourself with people in the industry or people that are, heading in that direction. We've talked before at our Personal Power Mastery event that you've attended about the law of probability, right? That basically states the more or closer you get to something, the more likely it is you'll get involved in something. Yes. And, we can talk more about that another time, but if you surround yourself with people in the industry your chances go significantly up that you could be involved in the industry. One of them may be a contact for you, etc. I'd even suggest if you don't know anyone in the industry, call your local TV station and volunteer. Get yourself on their radar. In fact, one of my students, I was talking to him not too long ago, he now hosts a radio show, but he has been a TV anchor person and a weather person, and he's done a bunch of other like TV stuff, like has a TV personality. But right now he's doing a radio show because like nobody's doing as much TV anymore. But anyways, the way he got started was he was a high school volunteer. He came in and he volunteered. And when there were positions that were open, everybody knew his face. Everybody knew his work ethic. Everybody knew who he was. So it was very easy when he handed in his resume, along with like all the other people that had in their resume. They're like, oh yeah, we know Andrew already. Let's bring him in. We like him. Let's just promote the kid. He's been here forever. And so get close to the action, right? And don't be afraid to, get in there and make connections with people and even be mentored by people. And I'd say that's probably the strongest way to get going with it. Definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes sort of the idea of, especially nowadays where people want things instantly, sometimes the process of working up to that director position or being higher up in the company or in the verse of production, because so many people have worked that have worked their way up in the media industry started off as runners. They were just maybe volunteers that were just helping out. So you can learn so much from just observing or playing a smaller role, but being such a like part of really big projects or being surrounded by people who are leaders in their field as well. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And my sort of closing question to you is, what would your younger self think of everything you've achieved to date? Did you have a plan? Did you know you was going to do all of this? Would your younger self be completely shocked?
My younger self would actually probably be disappointed, because when I was a kid, I remember somebody saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, Superman. so that's not possible. But you'd probably be disappointed. Oh, you mean I have to have a real job? No, I don't know. I still feel like my younger self. I'm having so much fun. I love what I do, and I play every day. That's really what I do. And speaking about things like, loving the movies that I've always loved, like I was just looking at this the other day, and a friend of mine kind of asked me the same question. He goes, when you were younger, do you think that you would do what you're doing now? And, what's the coolest thing about it? And, as I think back, when I was a kid, the thing that got me interested in movies was when I was about, I shouldn't say this to age myself, but when I was a kid, I saw the movie Star Wars for the first time, and I fell in love with the movie. It was amazing. And I also used to like things like the James Bond movies, and I thought they were amazing and all these things. Well, the cool thing is, in my interviews with the world's top achievers, I've had a chance to now meet many of the actors from those films, and some of them have become close friends of mine. In fact, one of my really close friends before he passed away was Richard Kiel, who was Jaws in the James Bond movies, like 7.5 feet tall with the metal teeth. And he and I co-wrote a book together, and we'd chat for hours on the phone, and he told me all kinds of cool behind-the-scenes stories. On YouTube, I just put out a video of me and Anthony Daniels, C-3PO, of me interviewing him, talking about his days of Star Wars. And, it's kind of funny. I was at an event with Nichelle Nichols not too long ago, and she's become a good friend, Uhura from Star Trek. And I've even got a picture of her kissing me. So, it's like, I basically am living the life as though I was the kid still. All the things are just, my passion and my desires and the things that I do are all being fulfilled. So I feel really, really blessed. But the cool thing, to take it full circle, is it all comes down to your thoughts. Mm-hmm. You see, you're going to think this is kind of funny. When I was a kid in junior high, mostly junior high, middle school, a little bit in high school still, but I was crazy shy, right? And I didn't know not only how to talk to girls, but even how to talk to other guys, right? I didn't know how to talk to anybody, right? And so I was really kind of shy about this, right? And so if you were to tell that kid there that one day I'll speak on major stages around the world, I'll have most of the movie stars that I admire, many of them as friends, all of the thought leaders that I didn't yet know about thought leading and stuff around the world. The top thinkers would be my buddies that I could just speed dial them. Like I was on the phone yesterday with Dennis Waitley. That I had met, for example, presidents. So, for example, I've interviewed Donald Trump. I've had a chance to interview Vicente Fox, who's the former president of Mexico. And if I had a chance to connect with, billion-dollar business leaders like the founders of FedEx, one of them was one of my friends before he passed away, and the CEOs of Nike and Reebok. And if you told me all that, I'd say, liar, because I wouldn't believe that about me. I had a hard time raising my hand to ask a question in class, let alone talking to somebody who created a big brand like that. So, yeah, but that's just the point, is that I think if any of you are watching this and you're wondering, well, I don't know, I've got some pretty big dreams. Can I do it? I'm going to suggest the first step is believe in it. Feel your own brilliance. Know that you have that brilliance within you. And the future is going to be even easier to do what I did. Like when I started doing these interviews, we didn't have the internet the same way we do now. We didn't have social media the same way we do now. I had to get on a phone that had like still dialing buttons, those old school ones. And I had to like talk to people that way. So you've got it even easier. You've heard it said that 6 degrees of separation, that we're all separated from people by 6. It's totally not true anymore. It's totally not true. I would be willing to bet that it's either 1, or how should we say this? None, 1, or at least 2.
Yeah.
Like other than that, you can get to everybody on the planet. Everybody. You know somebody right now that knows everybody that you want to talk to. Yeah. You just got to ask enough people and you will find them. It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing. And just before you leave us, because you're a very busy man, could you just let everyone know where they can perhaps get in touch with you, find out more about what you do? And I'm going to include the link and everything for the movie, because everyone should definitely go watch it.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got a ton of free training stuff that we love to share and help people. So probably the first place I'd recommend is my YouTube channel has tons of really great interviews, totally great stuff. In fact, I put up a video this morning, me and Oprah Winfrey a little bit. You might like that. There's, all kinds of media interviews, me on Fox and CNN and all these other things up there. Also Instagram, follow me there. I post regularly there with a lot of really cool quotes and good stuff. It's just quick, easy, digestible. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, all the other social media. And then come visit me at an event. That's the thing, is I love to meet people. And so come visit me. Let's take a selfie together, right? And then, tell me your story. I want to know about you. Remember, I'm an interviewer. I love to research people. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear about what you guys are doing. So come visit me.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm sure you guys have learned so much from what Doug shared today. Remember to go check him out on all social media, and also see if you can take part in some of the trainings or get down to one of his live events. Thank you so much for listening, and Doug, bye for now.